Chapter 1.
The Wars of the Roses were over. At the Battle of Tewkesbury, the House of York, the White Rose, defeated the House of Lancaster, the Red Rose. King Henry VI was dead, and Edward IV was the new King of England. Edward and the House of York celebrated long into the night. However, one member of Edward's family, his brother Richard, the Duke of Gloucester, didn't join in with the celebrations. He was happier when the two houses were at war with one another, and he didn't know what to do with himself now that England was at peace. He was a very clever and cunning man, but was ugly and a hunchback. He was determined to be powerful one day. Here he was now, waiting alone by the Tower of London. He spoke.
Now is the winter of our discontent. The war is over. My brother, the king, is happy, but I, so ugly that dogs bark at me in the street, am not. I'm not interested in having fun. I'm interested in planning, so that one day I will be the King of England. But who's that coming now?
At that moment, some guards, led by Brakenbury, the keeper of the tower, arrived with his other brother, George, the Duke of Clarence. They were taking him to the tower.
Brother, what on earth is going on? Why are these men bringing you here?
Asked Richard. Richard knew exactly what was going on. He had told Edward about a prophecy that he invented. He had told him that the name of the murderer of his sons would begin with the letter G. His brother, the Duke of Clarence, was called George. Richard wanted his brothers not to trust one another. This was all part of his evil plan.
Our brother, concerned for my safety, ordered them to bring me to the tower,
answered Clarence sarcastically.
For what reason?
Demanded Richard.
Because my name is George,
said Clarence simply.
It's not the king, our brother, who has sent you here. This sounds like the work of his wife, Queen Elizabeth. Don't you remember? She sent Lord Hastings here recently, and today he's going to be freed. We're not safe, Clarence. We're not safe.
It was Mistress Shaw, the king's friend, who got him out of the tower. All she had to do was ask our brother, and 10 minutes later he was free,
said Clarence.
The country is ruled by women, Queen Elizabeth and Mistress Shaw,
agreed Richard. Mistress Shaw loved Lord Hastings. Unfortunately, or in this case, fortunately, she also loved King Edward. Please forgive me, your graces, but His Majesty said that no one must speak in any circumstances with his brother Clarence, said Brakenbury.
We are the Queen's subjects and must obey,
said Richard, ironically. His Majesty is really King Edward himself.
Brother, farewell. I will go to our brother and beg him to free you. I'll even call his wife sister, if that helps you. But for now, try to be patient.
I will,
cried Clarence.
Farewell.
Clarence, Brakenbury, and the guards left. Richard was on his own again. He thought aloud.
Poor, simple Clarence. I do love him. He doesn't realize that he'll never return from the tower, and that soon I'll send his soul to heaven. But who comes now but Lord Hastings?
Good day, my lord, announced Hastings.
And also to you, my good Lord Chamberlain. Welcome home. How on earth did you survive your imprisonment in the tower?
Richard asked. With patience, noble lord, as all prisoners have to, replied Hastings.
I hope that Clarence can do the same. But what is the news?
The king is very ill, and his doctors are extremely worried.
This is very bad news indeed, Hastings. His lifestyle is catching up with him. Is he in bed?
He is, replied Hastings.
Go on to him, and I'll follow you.
Richard said, as Hastings prepared to leave. Richard hoped that the king would soon die, but not before he signed Clarence's death warrant. He decided to speak with the king as soon as possible.
If I'm lucky, Clarence only has one more day to live. The king will then die, and I'll marry the Earl Warwick's youngest daughter, Lady Anne, even though I killed her husband Edward and her father-in-law. But I mustn't count my chickens before they are hatched. Clarence is still very much alive, and the king is still on his throne.
Lady Anne, in mourning, entered with her servants, who were carrying the coffin of the dead King Henry VI.
Set the coffin down, men,
she instructed them. The men were tired and needed a moment's rest. Lady Anne was in mourning for her father-in-law, King Henry VI, her husband, and for the entire house of Lancaster. She cursed the man and the family that did these things to her.
To Chertsey,
she said.
Pick the coffin up again.
No! Leave it where it is!
Thundered Richard.
What kind of black magician speaks to my servants like that at a time like this?
Asked Anne.
Villains! Put the coffin down, or I'll kill the man who disobeys me,
demanded Richard.
My lords, please stand back and let the coffin pass,
said one of the servants.
Unmannered dog! Do as I say!
Shouted Richard. The servants put the coffin down again, and Lady Anne spoke to them.
Are you all afraid? I can't really blame you, as you are only human, and men will always be frightened of the devil. Go away, you evil man!
She shouted at Richard.
Don't bother us now! You've turned our happy earth into your hell by your terrible deeds. Look at what you did to King Henry.
Lady, please be more kind,
protested Richard.
Stop saying that I killed him.
Then why isn't he still alive?
She answered.
I didn't kill your husband,
said Richard.
You're lying. Queen Margaret herself saw your sword covered in his blood. At least admit that you killed King Henry,
said Anne.
Yes, I did,
Richard reluctantly admitted.
But it was your beauty that made me do it.
How could you do it? He was such a good man,
said Anne.
In that case, he'll have no problems in entering the kingdom of heaven,
said Richard.
a place that you will never see.
Anne said coldly.
The only place that you'll ever see is hell.
Well, there is one other place, I hope,
said Richard.
Where?
Asked Anne.
Some dungeon?
Your house.
Said Richard.
I want to be your husband.
Are you quite mad?
Said Anne.
I want revenge on the man that did this to me.
How can you want revenge on a man that loves you?
Asked Richard.
Any woman would want revenge on the man that killed her husband.
Lady Anne replied.
I only did it to find you a better husband,
Richard answered.
There isn't anyone better than him. Name him.
Demanded Anne.
Plantagenet.
That was his name.
The same name, but a different and better man.
Where is he?
Lady Anne asked.
Here.
Said Richard, pointing to himself. Lady Anne spat at Richard, and so he said,
If you won't forgive me, then kill me.
He gave her his sword, but she couldn't kill him. He then gave her his ring, which she reluctantly accepted.
Go home and leave me to take this corpse to Chertsey,
he asked. Lady Anne left, and Richard ordered the men to take the coffin away.
Chapter 2.
At the palace, the king was getting more ill, and his queen was getting more worried. She was with her brother, Lord Rivers, and her sons, Grey and Marquis Dorset.
Be patient, madam. The king will soon recover,
said Rivers.
And if he doesn't? What will happen to me then?
The queen replied.
You've got a son who will comfort you when the king is gone,
Rivers promised.
But he's too young. Richard of Gloucester will be named protector until he's old enough,
the queen said.
Is Richard definitely going to be named protector?
Asked Rivers.
I think so, yes,
replied the queen.
But it's not been confirmed yet.
The queen was joined by Richard, the lords of Buckingham and Derby, Lord Hastings, and by the late queen, Margaret. Richard blamed the queen for imprisoning Clarence and Hastings. She said that it wasn't her fault.
My Lord of Gloucester, I've had to put up with your rude comments for far too long. I'm going to tell my husband about what you said. I've had enough of being so badly treated by you.
Are you threatening me?
Demanded Richard.
Go ahead and tell him, or I'll tell him myself. Maybe he'll send me to the tower as well.
You devil! You killed my husband, Henry, in the tower, and then Edward, my son, at Tewkesbury,
said Margaret.
At least I was fighting for the House of York. You and your husband, Grey, fought for Lancaster. And you, Rivers,
declared Richard.
My Lord of Gloucester, we were only supporting our king. We do the same thing if you were king,
said Rivers.
I'd rather work in a shop than be king.
Go to hell, you evil man. You're all here to take what's mine. You owe me a husband and a son,
said Margaret to Richard.
And you owe me a kingdom,
she said to the Queen. Richard reminded them all that Margaret has done terrible things in her past. She killed a boy, the young Duke of York. It was the most terrible deed to kill that boy, said Hastings. Everyone became angry with Margaret. They forgot that they were worried about Richard becoming protector. They all shouted at Margaret, who cursed them and warned them about Richard.
So you're all angry with me now, are you?
Said Margaret.
Do you think that I care about what happened to that boy? I've lost my husband and son, and so will you too. Your son, Prince Edward, is the Prince of Wales. My son Edward was the Prince of Wales,
Margaret said to the Queen.
You are Queen, I was Queen, and I hope that you live a long life and watch your son die as well.
How charming, you old hag,
said Richard.
Be quiet, you dog,
replied Margaret.
Even worse will happen to you.
Everyone except Richard was very worried by Margaret's curses. They called her mad, but she didn't stop.
One day, you'll want me to make a curse for you against Richard,
said Margaret to the Queen.
Buckingham, beware of that dog,
said Margaret to Lord Buckingham.
What did she say?
Asked Richard.
Nothing that I'm interested in,
said Buckingham.
Are you ignoring my advice, Lord Buckingham? You'll remember it one day,
said Margaret. Catesby came in to tell them that the king wanted to see them. Everyone left, except for Richard, who waited for Clarence's executioners to arrive.
Are you ready to do the deed, my fine men?
He asked.
We are, my lord, and are here for the warrant,
replied the first executioner. Richard gave them the warrant for Clarence's death, and said,
When you've finished, meet me at my house in Crosby Place. Make the execution quick, and whatever you do, don't speak to Clarence. Fear not, my lord, we won't chatter with him. We've come to use our hands, and not our tongues. I like you, lads. Now go and do what you have to do,
said Richard. Clarence, imprisoned in the tower, spoke with Brakenbury, his keeper. He told him about the nightmares he had had the night before. He was having a crisis of conscience, and felt guilty about the things he had done.
I dreamt that I was on board a ship, going to Burgundy, with my brother Gloucester. Richard slipped and pushed me into the sea. I thought about how painful it is to drown, and what terrible noise the water made in my ears. I saw 1,000 shipwrecks and 1,000 skulls that fishes ate. I then dreamt about the Battle of Tewkesbury, and that I killed Henry VI. Please stay with me, Brakenbury, while I sleep,
asked Clarence. I will, my lord. God give your grace good rest, said Brakenbury. The two executioners arrived at the tower and showed the warrant to Brakenbury, who read it. I am instructed to deliver the Duke of Clarence to you. I don't understand why, but here are the keys. You'll find him in there asleep, said Brakenbury. Brakenbury left the two executioners to their work.
Shall I stab him while he's asleep?
Asked the first executioner.
No, let's wake him up first. Are you frightened?
Asked the second executioner.
No, we've got a warrant. I'm not afraid of anything, apart from the day of judgment, and that's something which no warrant can defend us against.
The executioners waited until Clarence woke up.
Who are you?
Asked Clarence.
We have come to murder me?
Asked Clarence.
Yes, my lords. You don't even have the strength to tell me, so you can't possibly have the strength to do it. Go to my brother Gloucester, who will give you a reward for saving me,
said Clarence.
I'm afraid you're wrong. Your brother Gloucester hates you. It was him that sent us to kill you,
said the first executioner.
I don't believe you,
said Clarence.
He told me that he would ask the king to free me.
He is freeing you, my lord. You're going to heaven,
said the first executioner.
Make your peace with God. You're about to die.
You can't do it. I can see that you don't want to kill me,
said Clarence.
What should we do?
Asked the second executioner.
Don't do it,
said Clarence.
I've had enough of this,
said the first executioner, who stabbed Clarence and took him into the next room.
A bloody deed, and not very well done. I feel like Pontius Pilate washing his hands,
said the second executioner.
Why aren't you helping me?
Asked the first.
I'll tell Gloucester about how useless you are.
I hope he finds out that I wanted to save his brother. Take the money. I don't want anything to do with this,
said the second.
I will, and I'll hide this body in some hole until the burial is prepared. Get out of here, you coward! Chapter 3.
A few days later, the king summoned his queen, Hastings, Rivers, Dorset, and Buckingham to see him. He knew that he was about to die, and so he wanted them all to make peace with one another before he passed away. Rivers and Hastings were first, followed by the Queen and then Buckingham. Everyone was sincere, except for Buckingham, who knew that he was already plotting with Gloucester. The king, however, didn't notice his insincerity. "The only person missing here now is my brother, Gloucester," said the king. As if by magic, Richard immediately appeared.
Good morning to my sovereign king and queen,
said Gloucester. "It's a wonderful morning, my brother. We have done so many good things today. Everyone has made their peace," said the king. "Now it's your turn." Gloucester made a long and moving speech. He too promised to make peace with everyone.
An excellent idea, my brother. If I've done anything wrong to anyone here, I apologize. I want everyone to know that I have no bad feelings towards anyone in this country,
said Richard. The Queen, noticing that her husband was in such a good mood, decided to ask him to free his brother Clarence.
In honour of this wonderful day, please let poor Clarence go,
begged the Queen.
Are you making fun of me, madam?
Richard said to the Queen.
We all know that Clarence is already dead,
said Richard in a rage.
We don't know anything of the sort,
said Rivers.
What kind of world do we live in?
Said the Queen. Is Clarence dead? But I changed my mind and sent an order to free him, said the King.
Your first order killed him,
replied Richard.
Your second order didn't get there in time.
The King was very sad. Stanley, the Earl of Derby, arrived in court to ask for the pardon of one of his servants. The King, who didn't even pardon his own brother, was furious at the request. He remembered all the good deeds that Clarence did, and cried. He remembered that Clarence saved his life at Tewkesbury. No one tried to save him, said the King. Hastings, take me to my room. Oh, poor Clarence. Richard also pretended to be in mourning, but he was happy that his plan was working so well. He went with the King to comfort him. Clarence's children, a boy and a girl, wanted to know what had happened to their father. Their grandmother, the Duchess of York, pretended that he was still alive.
My children, you're making a mistake. I'm sad because the king is ill, not because your father is dead,
said the Duchess.
Then he really must be dead,
said the boy.
It's the king's fault. My good Uncle Gloucester told us that the Queen made the king put our father in prison.
The Duchess of York was not happy that the children believed that Gloucester was such a good man and that the king was not. They were interrupted by the Queen, who arrived in tears.
Edward, your son, our king, is dead,
screamed the Queen. The Queen and the Duchess of York were both very sad. So were the children. The Duchess had now lost 2 of her sons, Edward and Clarence, in a few days. Only Richard remained. Richard arrived with Buckingham and pretended to also be in mourning for his brother. Buckingham suggested that the young Prince Edward was brought to London for his coronation. The young prince was in Ludlow, and there was a meeting to decide who would go to collect him. Richard was very pleased with Buckingham's plan and complimented him. It was now obvious that the 2 men were working together. All was not well, however, in the kingdom. The people were concerned that the old king was dead and that the young prince was too young to become king.
A land that's governed by a child hasn't got any future,
said one citizen.
But with him, at least we've got a hope of good government,
said another. The people were very concerned that Richard could become king, and they feared him. The people were not the only ones who were afraid. The Queen and the Duchess of York couldn't wait to see young Edward.
I hope that he has grown bigger since I last saw him,
said the Duchess.
They say that he's still quite small,
said the Queen. They also talked about Richard's birth many years ago.
They say that my uncle was so big he could eat bread as soon as he was born,
said the young Duke of York.
Who told you that?
Said the Duchess.
My nurse,
replied the Duke of York.
You mustn't say things like that,
said the Queen.
Walls have ears.
Lord Dorset entered with some bad news. Lord Rivers and Lord Grey had been arrested and sent to Pomfret Castle.
On whose orders?
Demanded the Duchess.
The Dukes of Gloucester and Buckingham,
replied Lord Dorset.
For what reason?
Asked the Duchess.
I don't know,
said Lord Dorset. The Queen was very worried for her family and decided to take sanctuary in Westminster Cathedral. She could see that Richard and Buckingham were starting to take control. The Duchess and the young Duke of York went with her. Prince Edward arrived in London, and Richard and Buckingham went to meet him. He was very tired after his long journey from Ludlow, and wasn't very happy about what had happened to his other uncles. He didn't believe Richard when he told him that his two other uncles were treacherous. Prince Edward also wondered why his mother and brother hadn't come to see him.
I expected to see my mother and my brother. And where on earth is that idiot Hastings? He could at least tell me if they are coming or not.
Hastings arrived and was ridiculed by Buckingham for being late.
And finally, here he is, the sweating lords,
said Buckingham.
Welcome, my lords,
said Prince Edward.
Is my mother coming to see me?
But your mother and brother have taken sanctuary. Your brother wanted to come to see you, but your mother wouldn't let him, replied Hastings. This made Buckingham very angry. He ordered the Lord Cardinal to go to the Queen to persuade her to send the Duke of York to his brother Edward.
If she doesn't let him come, you, Hastings, take him from her,
said Buckingham.
I'll do my best to convince her,
promised the Lord Cardinal.
But if she doesn't agree, I can't force them to leave sanctuary. It would be extremely inappropriate. They're protected by the Church.
You are too traditional and too stubborn,
said Buckingham.
I've never heard of a boy taking sanctuary. A man, yes, but a boy, never.
My lord, I'll try. Come on, Lord Hastings. Will you come with me?
Asked the Lord Cardinal. I'll come, my lord, Hastings replied. The two men left immediately for Westminster Abbey.
Chapter 4.
The young Prince Edward asked Richard where he would stay until the day of the coronation. Richard suggested that he spent a couple of days in the Tower, because he thought it was the safest place.
But I don't like the Tower,
said the prince.
But it was built by Julius Caesar,
said Buckingham.
That's true, and I want to be a great warrior just like him. If I grow up to be a man, I'll take back France for England,
said the prince. Richard smiled to himself, because he knew that if his plan succeeded, the young prince would neither grow up nor become king. His thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of the Lord Cardinal, Hastings, and the young Duke of York.
And finally, here's your brother,
said Buckingham.
How are you, my boy?
Asked Richard.
Very well, thank you, uncle,
the Duke replied. The Duke was also unhappy about staying in the Tower, but agreed to go. He was frightened, but his brother reassured him.
I'll never sleep in that place. My uncle Clarence was murdered there,
said the Duke.
I'm not frightened of dead uncles,
said the prince.
I hope that you're not frightened of living ones either,
said Richard. The boys left for the tower. Richard, Buckingham and Catesby talked. Buckingham told Catesby to go to Hastings. He wanted him to find out whether Hastings would support them if Richard became king.
If he agrees, that's excellent. If he seems unsure, don't say too much,
instructed Buckingham.
This needs to be a secret.
They told Catesby to let them know what Hastings said as soon as possible.
I will, my lord,
promised Catesby.
And what about Lord Stanley? What will he think?
Buckingham asked Richard.
Stanley will do whatever Hastings does,
said Richard. Catesby went to Hastings, and Buckingham asked what they should do if Hastings didn't agree with the idea of Richard becoming king.
Chop off his head,
said Richard.
As soon as I'm king, I'll give you the earldom of Hereford as a gift.
Thank you,
said Buckingham.
I'll remind you of that as soon as you're king.
A messenger arrived at Hastings' home in the middle of the night. Who is that knocking on my door at this time? Shouted Hastings.
A messenger from Lord Stanley,
the messenger answered. What do you want? Asked Hastings.
My master had a dream, my lord, that Richard is a menace. He dreamt that the boar burned his castle and that Richard plans to have 2 councils called in London. He will get rid of you at one of these councils. He asked you to come immediately to the north to meet him.
Go back to your master, said Hastings. Richard can't do anything without me. I'm going to one of the councils, and Catesby will be at the other. Tell your master to go back to sleep and not to worry. Richard will be kind to us. I'm staying here.
I'll tell my master what you said, my lord,
said the messenger. The messenger left, but Hastings was soon disturbed again, this time by Catesby himself.
Good morning, my lord,
announced Catesby. Good morning to you, Catesby. You're up very early this morning, replied Hastings. What do you want?
I've come to tell you that Richard wants to be king,
said Catesby. You've got to be joking, replied Hastings. I can't think of anyone worse for king.
He asks if you will support him,
said Catesby. Catesby also told Hastings that Lord Grey and Lord Rivers were about to be executed at Pomfret Castle that afternoon, news that made Hastings happy. I'm happy that Grey and Dorset will die, but I won't support Richard for king. Lord Stanley arrived and was still upset about his dream. Hastings made fun of him. Good morning, Stanley. Where's your boar spear? Said Hastings.
I'm pleased that you find this all so funny,
said Stanley.
I'm worried about all these councils.
Richard had called a council meeting in London. All the noblemen in England had to go. Stanley reminded Hastings about what happened to Grey and Dorset, and was worried about going to London. Hastings, however, persuaded him to go. At Pomfret Castle, the prisoners waited to die. They remembered that Richard II himself died there. It was now their turn. In London, the council meeting began. The lords wanted to decide a date for the royal coronation. The bishop suggested the day after tomorrow, but Buckingham reminded them all that Richard, as protector, hadn't approved anything yet. Richard entered and said,
Good morning,
to them all. He seemed to be in a good mood, and even asked the bishop to send for some strawberries from his garden in Holborn. Richard said to Buckingham,
Could I have a word in private with you? Catesby told me that Hastings doesn't want me to be king.
Richard and Buckingham left the meeting for a few minutes to decide what to do with Hastings. Hastings, however, was convinced that Richard liked him and that he would not do anything to harm him. Richard and Buckingham came back into the meeting, but Richard was in a foul temper.
You're all plotting against me,
said Richard.
especially you, Hastings.
I'd never do such a thing, said Hastings. And anyone who does deserves to die.
Then you will be the first to die,
said Richard.
You're a traitor.
Richard called for some soldiers, who took Hastings away to be executed. Hastings realized that Stanley's dreams and Margaret's curses about Richard were true. Unfortunately for him, he realized all this too late. The others on the council were very frightened and didn't dare say anything against Richard. Things for Richard were starting to move very quickly. He had killed Lord Grey and Lord Dorset in Pomfret, his brother Clarence in the Tower, and now Hastings was about to die. His nephews were in the Tower, and Queen Elizabeth was in sanctuary in Westminster Cathedral. His plan was working. Who could stop him now? Richard and Buckingham had to convince the mayor that Hastings plotted against them.
He planned to kill me and Richard today at the council meeting,
said Buckingham. They told the mayor that they were afraid for their lives and asked him to address the citizens of London to tell them why Hastings was killed without a trial. As the mayor left for Guildhall, Richard told Buckingham to follow him.
Go after him and tell the citizens about Edward, their old king. Tell them about how he lived and his huge appetite for wine, food, and fun. Tell them that his children are bastards and do not deserve the throne of England.
I will, my lords,
replied Buckingham.
Where will you be?
I'm going to Baynard's castle. I'll be there with the bishops and clergy.
Richard wanted the citizens to believe that he was a pious man. Richard was always very cunning. A few hours later, Buckingham returned from the Guildhall.
Well, what did the citizens say?
Demanded Richard.
Very little,
replied Buckingham.
But did you tell them about my brother, the king, and about the fact that his children were bastards?
I did,
said Buckingham.
And then I told them that you were the only true heir to the throne. I told them about your victories as a soldier in Scotland and in France, about your humility and wisdom and piety.
And what did they say?
Asked Richard.
Nothing. They stood there like statues,
said Buckingham.
I asked the mayor what this meant, and he told me that the citizens are not used to be spoken to by anyone but the recorder.
Buckingham, however, put some men in the crowd who cheered for Richard, and this helped to convince the mayor and the citizens. Later that day, the mayor asked to speak with Richard, but found him praying with the bishops. He asked Buckingham if he could see him.
My Lord Mayor, I will do all that I can, but I think the Duke prefers to remain with the bishops. I'll ask his servant Catesby if he can be disturbed.
My lord asks if you will see him tomorrow or the day after, because he is praying with the bishops,
said Catesby.
Go back and ask again, Catesby. The Lord Mayor wishes to see him urgently,
asked Buckingham. Buckingham told the mayor that Richard was a pious and holy man, unlike his brother Edward. After a few minutes, Richard arrived with the bishops. The mayor and Buckingham asked Richard to become king. They told him that the citizens of England wanted him as their sovereign. Richard pretended to be unimpressed and at first refused. After some persuasion, Richard agreed, and a date for his coronation was set for the following day.
Chapter 5.
The Queen, the Duchess of York, and Lady Anne met outside the tower. They had come to see the princes who were being held there by Richard. Brakenbury, the keeper of the tower, however, refused to let them see them.
Who says that I can't see my own children?
Asked the Queen. The King has said that no one can see the princes, said Brakenbury.
The King? Who's that?
Asked the Queen. I mean the Royal Protector, said Brakenbury, aware that he had made a mistake by calling Richard King already. Lord Stanley then arrived to take Lady Anne to Westminster Abbey.
Come, madam, you must come with me to be crowned queen,
said Stanley.
This is all terrible news,
said the Queen. The Queen persuaded her son Dorset to go to Richmond in France, as she feared for his life. Lord Stanley agreed that this was good advice, and encouraged him to leave. All the women were very worried about the news that Richard was about to be king, and were frightened about what would happen next. Meanwhile, in Westminster Abbey, the trumpets sounded. Richard was King of England. However, he was still not completely happy. He worried about Prince Edward in the Tower, and called for Buckingham.
Come here, Buckingham. I don't feel that I'm really king as long as Prince Edward is alive,
said Richard.
Oh, but you are king,
said Buckingham.
That's true, but Prince Edward is the true prince. Do I have to spell it out? I want the princes dead, and I want it now. What do you think?
You can do whatever you want to,
said Buckingham. Richard noticed that Buckingham didn't think that it was a good idea, and became angry with him.
Let me think about it,
said Buckingham. Buckingham left, and Richard summoned a boy that worked in court to him.
Come here, boy,
ordered Richard.
Do you know anyone who can do a delicate duty for me in return for lots of money?
I do know someone, my lord. His name is Tyrrell,
said the boy.
Excellent. Bring him to me,
asked Richard.
I've had enough of Buckingham and his insolence.
Not satisfied with these arrangements, Richard still thought of new ways to defend his position. He decided that his new wife, Lady Anne, wasn't as useful as he thought she was.
It would be better to be married to my brother Edward's daughter, Elizabeth. This would make my accession to the throne even more legitimate,
he thought. He was interrupted by the arrival of Lord Stanley, who brought news that Dorset was with Richmond. Even this news didn't make Richard stop making more plans.
I must marry my brother's daughter, or else my kingdom is not safe. I'll kill her brothers and then marry her.
Tyrrell then arrived in court.
Is your name Tyrrell?
Asked Richard.
James Tyrrell, and your most obedient subject,
Tyrrell replied.
Are you indeed? Then prove it to me,
said Richard.
I want you to kill a friend of mine.
I'd rather kill too,
said Tyrrell.
Even better,
said Richard.
I want you to kill the 2 bastards in the tower, my nephews.
With pleasure, my lord. I'll do it today,
said Tyrrell.
Music to my ears,
said Richard.
Let me know as soon as the deed is done.
I will,
promised Tyrrell, who left to get on with his business. Buckingham returned and said that he had reconsidered Richard's earlier request. Richard was no longer interested, as Tyrrell was already on his way.
Have you heard that Dorset is with Richmond?
Inquired Richard.
I hear that Richmond is sending letters to Elizabeth as well.
I heard that, my lord. I want to talk about the earldom of Hereford, you promised me,
said Buckingham.
I remember a prophecy that said that Richmond will be king one day,
said Richard, ignoring Buckingham's question.
What about your promise and my earldom?
Insisted Buckingham.
A singer once told me that I will die as soon as I see Richmond,
Continued Richard.
My lords!
Shouted Buckingham.
Buckingham, enough! I'm not in the mood for giving presents today,
Shouted Richard. Buckingham then understood that Richard didn't care about him any more. He remembered what Richard did to Hastings and trembled at the thought. Tyrrell killed the princes and thought about what he had done.
The terrible deed is done. The worst thing that this country has ever seen. I asked two men, Dighton and Forrest, evil villains, the pair of them, to do it for me. Even they cried like two children when they saw what they did to those innocent princes. They left me to give the news to Richard, and so I must do it.
Kind Tyrrell, am I happy with your news?
Asked Richard.
If you mean, have I done the thing that you asked me to do, then you are happy, my lord.
Did you see them dead?
Asked Richard.
I did, my lord.
Answered Tyrrell.
And buried?
Asked Richard.
The chaplain of the tower buried them, but I don't know where.
Said Tyrrell.
After dinner, you must tell me how they died, and be rewarded for your work,
Said Richard. Richard was extremely pleased that the princes were dead. He then started to think about Elizabeth again. He didn't want her to marry Richmond, and so planned to see her as soon as possible. First, he had to get rid of his wife, Lady Anne, the Duchess of Gloucester. He started a rumour that she was not well, and soon she died. Catesby, meanwhile, arrived with more bad news.
My lord,
Said Catesby.
what do you want, Catesby?
Asked Richard.
Lord Ely has joined Richmond, and Buckingham has assembled an army of Welshmen to attack you. I don't care about Buckingham and his stupid little army, but Ely worries me as he is closer. Get my army ready. We are going to battle. Chapter 6.
Margaret, meanwhile, couldn't believe her good luck. Everything was going the way that she wanted. Edward's family was almost all dead, and armies were preparing to attack Richard. She planned to leave for France, but before she could go, she met the Queen and the Duchess of York. They were in mourning because the princes were dead. They hated Richard, and the Queen asked Margaret to prepare a curse for her.
You said that one day I'd want that evil spider to die.
The Queen said to Margaret.
Teach me how to curse my enemies.
Stay up all night and don't eat all day. Think about your children and how wonderful they were. Think about how evil is the man that killed them.
Said Margaret.
I'll do it, but you're better at it than me.
The Queen replied.
Don't worry, you'll manage.
Said Margaret.
I must go to France.
The Queen and the Duchess of York heard Richard approaching.
Who is that in my way?
Asked Richard.
Someone who should have killed you when you were in my stomach.
Said the Duchess of York.
Look at you in your crown.
Said the Queen.
You killed the prince who should be wearing that. You killed my 2 sons.
You toad. Where is your brother Clarence?
Added the Duchess.
Where are Hastings, Rivers, and Grey?
Said the Queen.
I don't have to listen to this.
Said Richard.
Sound the trumpets!
Are you my son?
Asked the Duchess.
I am.
Said Richard.
Then listen to me.
I don't want to listen to your complaints and your anger.
said Richard.
I'll speak kindly.
The Duchess promised,
And quickly.
said Richard.
I hope to never see you again. I hope that you'll die in battle and that you regret all the terrible things that you've done. Think about the little princes. You're an evil man, and you'll have an evil end.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
Agreed the Queen. The Queen and the Duchess prepared to leave, but Richard first wanted to speak with the Queen.
I can't imagine what you want now. I don't have any more sons for you to murder.
Said the Queen.
No, but you have a daughter called Elizabeth.
Replied Richard.
You want to kill her too? What's she done to you?
Said the Queen.
I don't want to kill her. I want to marry her.
Said Richard.
You must be joking!
Said the Queen.
After everything you've done to her family.
I want to protect her.
Said Richard.
As queen, she'll be quite safe and also very powerful.
Until you've had enough of her.
Said the Queen.
Please, speak with her.
Begged Richard.
This way your family name will be protected.
I will, but I won't promise anything.
Replied the Queen. Ratcliffe, another of Richard's servants, reported that Buckingham's army was getting stronger and that Richmond was at sea and was preparing to invade. Richard summoned Lord Stanley and asked him what he should do.
What is Richmond doing?
Asked Richard.
I don't know exactly, my lord.
Replied Stanley.
He is at sea and he is preparing to invade. He knows that Ely, Dorset and Buckingham are on his side, and I think that he wants to become king. Don't we already have a king?
Said Richard.
Am I dead? I'm the only surviving heir to the House of York. I'm starting not to trust you either, Stanley. You haven't got any reason not to trust me, my lord. What have I done?
Stanley said.
Well, in that case, why aren't you doing anything about Buckingham and his Welshmen?
Asked Richard.
My armies are in the north. Buckingham attacks in the west.
Replied Stanley.
Not much use to me there, are they? Go and get them, but leave your son, George Stanley, here with me, in case you get any ideas about joining Richmond.
Said Richard. Lord Stanley wasn't very happy about leaving his son with Richard, but he didn't have any choice. Richard could see that his kingdom was in danger, and he didn't trust anyone anymore. A messenger arrived with even more bad news. Other nobles in Devon had joined Richmond's army. Buckingham, however, had been captured, and his army dispersed. Richard prepared to go to battle at Salisbury.
Away towards Salisbury. We're wasting our time here.
He sent a messenger with the order to bring Buckingham to him in Salisbury.
Chapter 7.
Lord Stanley couldn't go to Richmond in person because Richard was holding his son George Stanley as a hostage. He did, however, send him a message. Richmond was in Wales, and Stanley promised him his support. He also told him that the Queen had agreed to Richmond's marriage with Elizabeth. The Queen had chosen Richmond to be king. The time had come for Buckingham's execution. Ratcliffe and a guard were with him.
Won't King Richard let me speak with him?
Asked Buckingham. No, I'm afraid not, said Ratcliffe.
I thought that he wouldn't,
said Buckingham. He was starting to regret all the terrible things that he had done, and he imagined that Richard would do the same one day.
Today I'm going to get what I deserve. Margaret's curse has come true.
Richmond, meanwhile, was preparing his armies. He was confident of victory and spoke to his men. He told them that it was time to remove Richard's tyranny from England. "We must kill the Boer," he said. "He's waiting for us near Leicester." Richmond's army marched to Tamworth, a small village near Leicester, to wait. Richard arrived at Bosworth Field, and his army made camp there.
Put up my tent here,
Richard ordered.
Does anyone know how many men are in Richmond's army?
"About 6,000, replied one of Richard's nobles.
Our army is 3 times as big,
Richard said.
Come, I want to look at the battlefield before I go to bed. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day.
Richmond was also planning for the day ahead. He noticed the golden sunset and thought that it was a good omen for the battle. He sent a messenger to Stanley, asking him to come to him. In Richard's tent, Catesby spoke.
What do you want to eat this evening, my lord?
Asked Catesby.
Nothing. I'm not hungry tonight,
said Richard.
But bring me some paper and some ink. Then send a messenger to Stanley. I want him to send his army here before dawn. Otherwise, I'll kill his son.
Richard told his nobles to be ready early the next morning and prepared to sleep. Stanley, by this time, however, was already with Richmond. He couldn't support Richmond in battle, otherwise Richard would kill his son. He hoped that Richmond would win. Richard was asleep, but he was having nightmares. He was worried about Stanley and didn't trust anyone. Suddenly, in a dream, Prince Edward appeared.
Remember how you killed me at Tewkesbury when I was so young?
The ghost said.
Despair and die.
The ghost then spoke to Richmond.
I wish you good luck tomorrow.
And then the ghost of King Henry appeared. Think how you killed me too, said the ghost. King Henry hopes that tomorrow you will die. Another ghost then appeared, this time the ghost of Clarence.
It's me, Clarence, the brother you betrayed to death. Think about what you did to me tomorrow as you fight.
Clarence's ghost then spoke to Richmond.
Even though you are from the House of Lancaster, I wish you good luck.
More ghosts came, and Richard's conscience was in pain. First came the ghosts of Rivers and Grey, then the 2 young princes, and then Hastings and Lady Anne. All of them hoped he would lose and die the next day. The last ghost to visit Richard was Buckingham's ghost. He helped Richard in the beginning, but now he wished that he hadn't. Richard woke up and felt very bad. He was worried about what the dream meant.
Who's that?
He shouted. It's only me, Ratcliffe, said Ratcliffe.
What do you want?
Asked Richard. It's time to go to battle, my lord. You need to put your armour on.
Oh, Ratcliffe, I slept so badly and had terrible dreams,
said Richard. Don't worry, my lord, said Ratcliffe. It was only a dream.
I'm more frightened about my dream than about fighting 10,000 men,
said Richard.
Get me my horse.
Yes, my lord, said Ratcliffe.
Did Stanley send his men yet?
Asked Richard. A messenger said that Stanley isn't coming, replied Ratcliffe.
Kill his son as soon as the battle is over,
ordered Richard. Richard prepared to go to battle. Richmond, on the other hand, slept so well that he was now late. His nobles made fun of him. "I dreamt that all the people that Richard killed came to visit me," Richmond said. "They all wished me good luck. What time is it?"
It's 4 o'clock.
one of the noblemen said. "Time to go to battle," said Richmond. Richard saw that the sun was not yet up. He took the black sky as a good omen for the battle. He too prepared to fight. Richard fought well, but his horse was killed in battle.
A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
He shouted.
Come with me, my lord,
said Catesby.
I'll find you a horse. No, the battle is lost. I've already killed Richmond 5 times today, but he's still alive. Oh, it's over.
Richard was killed, and Richmond was the victor. Victorious friends, the day is ours, and the bloody dog is dead, said Richmond. Stanley gave the crown to Richmond, and he was the new King of England. Thank you, Stanley, said Richmond. But is your son all right?
He is, my lord, and safe. Thank you for asking.
The battle was over, and Richmond took his new wife, Elizabeth, as queen. The houses of York and Lancaster were joined together, and England was at peace once more.